So how many industries around the world can you get away with a title like "This simple trick will make millionaires in the next year"? Not many. Actually, crypto is one of the very few. And at that, there's a lot of misleading titles and videos out there in the space trying to get your attention and get your views, but not this video. Mark my words, the content in this video is probably going to be the best you've seen this year. And I'm not kidding. And that's objective as possible, right? I've got evidence that's going to support what I'm going to say here from some of your favorite influencers out there. A lot of us with the same level of knowledge in this space recognize that this is a massive problem that a lot of people face, right? 90% of people in crypto do not do this, and therefore it is a simple trick that can get you millions. It's what I am doing. It's what many others are doing to set themselves up for life. And you guys know the importance of this last bull run, right? It very well could be our last true crypto bull run. So what is this trick? Well, in order for me to actually give you weight to this, what I'm about to say here, in order for me to make you understand how important it really is, I've got to take you way back to 2021, the last crypto bull run where I thought I was a genius. Likely, if you're someone watching this, chances are you do too, because you've probably made some gains already. You see these meme coins pumping. You think, hey, got 2 more years of this. There's no way in hell I can actually lose money. And you'd be correct. Probably a higher chance you make money than lose money. However, where you actually will lose the money in the end and where the scales flip in the other direction, and again, more people lose money in the end, is a simple fact that people do not know when to take profit. Can you hang on here a second? Let me just kind of explain to you. I'm going to take you through an example at the end of this video into actually how to set up your own sell orders. It's literally all you need to do. Now, in this case, what I happened to do in the last bull run here, I missed all of this. Okay, I missed this massive run up over here, and I didn't get in till this purple box, right? I didn't get in till about here, unfortunately. But when I did get in, the multiples I made from this point over here at around just under 3 cents to way up here at about 8 cents was astronomical. Like, I wasn't a very wealthy person back then. I'm still not now. And so that, 3-4x for me was just life-changing. There's no way. And I didn't ever expect or think about selling my tokens. Didn't even cross my mind once. I remember clear as day, me and my friend thinking to ourselves, we're a genius. I used to go to the local library and I used to set my computer up and just fiddle around with the mouse and thinking I was doing something. I clearly remember thinking I was the shit, okay? And I tell you right now, I definitely wasn't. My friend especially still holds his tokens to this day. We could have sold, he had about $15,000 in his bank account. He is still holding that same tokens today, which are of course 20-30x cheaper than what they were at that point. It's a very important story, and it's one that you'll be told time and time again. A prime example of this in the macro sense was Bitcoin, right? What happened with Bitcoin in the last cycle? $100,000 is going to hit, guys. We were $30,000 off that mark. And so it definitely is a way in which you can be manipulated. Your thoughts can be diluted, right? You don't have any common sense because you're so used to hearing influencers scream these magic numbers for you. And it's especially bad in the bull run, which is why it is extremely important to do this right now, where your mind is somewhat not influenced by, influencers, right? Now, before we get into what I'm going to sort of talk about here in more depth, I want to say this is something that someone who actually got me into crypto YouTube said as well recently. Suppo Man, or Michael is his name, said the hardest skill in crypto is knowing when to sell. In a bull trend, coins do not stop rising. You think it'll hit 100x, 1000x, and you hodl too long, they crash and just keep crashing and you lose. This is the common story, and what Mr. Alex Becker said recently just goes to show the same point as well. Only 10% of people leave the bull run with any sort of profits. And if to first bull run, this seems absolutely mind-bendingly stupid, how? I could never do that. Don't worry. I was the exact same person. I was a person listening to these people, and I did, and I still lost money. Why? It's very simple. I didn't have an exit plan. I can't stress it enough. If you're someone that doesn't listen to me, well, I'm going to have to say I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to say I told you so in the next bear market. Here's something I got from Google, right? The importance of an exit plan. Ideally, an exit strategy will allow traders to make more money than their initial investment, of course, but it should also protect them from large losses. And this is what I say time and time again. A proper exit plan should, realistically speaking, give you safer gains, but more gains, okay? It's just simply how it needs to work, and it does work like that. Hence, simple trick that's going to make millionaires, because a lot of people will not follow this. Now, again, exiting is commonly the most accepted important thing in crypto to do. People just don't talk about it because it's not sexy. What is sexy? Hey, I'm buying Bonk today, guys. Yeah, what price I'm going to make on Bonk and how much money is here? Oh, that's what's sexy. This is where actual paper money, paper gains turns into real hard cash. And yet, of course, most investors, traditional retail degens, we just don't like to know about it, right? Because it gets not sexy. I hear time and time again, oh, it can't be hard, I just sell when I've reached my goal. I'll just sell it at 10x, trust me, or I'll sell it at 20x, it'll be fine. Again, that was me in the last cycle. I'll just sell it at 10x. Well, is a 10x, one, even possible? And two, are you gonna let your greed actually get the better of you and look for then a 20x when you're at a 10x? The list just simply goes on forever. Now, I'm gonna take us through my strategy for this in just a second, but again, I want to remind you, the goal of an exit plan is to make the most amount of money the safest possible way, extracting and dripping every single cent out of the market, but doing so in your sleep, doing so you don't have to stress and worry about it when other people are chasing gains, buying, selling at the tops, and just, doing everything basically the wrong way around. So in this case, you have to do it for every single one of your altcoins. You cannot do this as a one-size-fits-all type thing. Crypto, commonly a misbelief here is that it all goes up at once and it all comes crashing down at once. And I think if you guys follow the channel here, and you definitely should, so make sure you do subscribe. I've spoken about this many, many times before. I've made lots of, documentations on this. And this is one, right? Gaming, oracles, DeFi, IoT, layer one, all of these different narratives, they pump at different times. Look at gaming, right? Gaming pumped over here past Bitcoin's peak. They all peaked at the same time and all just after Bitcoin hit $69,000 and actually started crashing. They all peaked over here, right? Well, if you're someone who was in DeFi, well, DeFi peaked over here. Gaming peaked all the way over here, right? Look where DeFi was. Gaming over here, DeFi peaked over here. Gaming here, DeFi here, gaming here. Now we're talking about a difference of 4 years. This is a 4-year whole cycle gap. So this even a little small change is like 3 or 4 months. So yes, we're talking about a whole year difference in jumps and trading, right? So again, very important you recognize this because one, this is when we're going to actually make our money. We don't make our money from little pumps a project might have because of news or what I call popularity. We make our money from these. This is the biggest pumps that happen because of narratives when the whole sort of industry or that niche pops at that same time. But here's the real kicker. Because we're doing it this way and we're setting up sell levels, right? Again, my exit plan, we might actually end up getting out an example over here, right? We might get out most of it on this little pump over here or on this pump over here. We might miss out on an additional 20% over here, like in the case of Atom. But this is the thing, right? A lot of people have the mistake of it could go up even more. No one's a freaking genie. No one knows when the top will actually set in. Therefore, you cannot be someone who thinks to yourself, oh, I can get an extra 10x out of the market over here. It ain't like that, guys. We set these sell levels up based on a lot of information, which of course I'm going to give you with my price prediction sheet. You guys have completely free access to this. We take that. So again, whether it happens in a narrative or not, we know that we can make our money, and so it's all taken care of completely for us. Now, we're going to get into this in a second, but I want to say, please, sell levels are great to look at, hypothesize about, and have all these set up on TradingView, like over here, and get it all set out. But where it really truly matters is when we actually set this into our centralized exchanges. Now, DeFi is getting pretty good. A lot of decentralized exchanges like Uniswap and others have, like Injective, for example, have spot markets. So you can do this on a decentralized exchange now, which is fantastic. But if you are someone who wants more liquidity, something like Bybit will be fantastic, again, because we're selling here. We can go limit orders, very basic, right? You just simply pick your price. All right, well, I want to sell at $10 over here. I want to sell 10,000 pith. We'll work out this in a second. So you can make $100,000. Wouldn't that be great? And you set all your levels up on a centralized exchange, put it all in the order book, and it's there forever until those are executed, right? So it's taken care of. Now, I want to actually talk a little bit about my sponsor of this video, which is Caleb and Brown. Now, don't get me wrong, they're sponsoring the video, but they're actually someone who I personally do use for my own centralized crypto affairs. What I simply do here, and what the beauty about Caleb and Brown really is they're a brokerage first, guys. These aren't a really centralized typical exchange, and while they do have the features of that, what they're really doing here is making it available for you, the demographic who most of us are above the age of 35 to 50, easy to use crypto. You just send off a very simple email to your broker. We all get a dedicated broker. Mine's Jake. You send him an email, hey Jake, I want to set up all of these sell orders. I want to sell a certain amount of my tokens at each of these levels. Boom. He will literally get back to you in 15 minutes, or a correspondent, and they will say, hey, Kyron, no worries, mate. We've got them all set up here. Done. That's it. One email, done. You can do 100 different things. They're a human interacting with you. 24/7, which is why I, of course, go ahead and use them. Now, again, as I said, they are not just a brokerage, they are a crypto company as well. They're a centralized exchange. You can set up your sell orders manually, do it all yourself. That's absolutely fine. But the beauty of this is literally will take the complete stress away from anything you're doing in the market, especially something complicated like what it can turn out to be if you get really freaky with it, which is sell orders and sell levels, right? When you kind of type it out, it's much easier for you to comprehend. That is why I use Caleb & Brown, guys. It's simple. You can talk to someone, which is very rare in the space, and they're fast. 2 a.m., you want to do something, you get a response in 15 minutes. It's literally insane. So with that said, let's go ahead and start plotting some of these levels. Now, in order for us to do this, you're going to have to bear with me here. There is a few steps. Now, I'm going to run through these steps quickly, but give you enough information that, you only have to use this video. But what you would ideally want to do is learn it comprehensively and, again, apply it to all your altcoins. Now, I'm not by all means forcing you to do this, but if you were someone who's taking this seriously, and I suggest you do, I have my exit course linked down below. It's $149, lifetime access. You go back to it, refer to it. It's going to be even more content over time being added to it to make your experience as easy as possible. So you do have that option if you really are stressing out in this case. So there's a few things we want to do. First of all, we started a price prediction. Now, we're going to use HBAR for our example over here, and it's important we use a price prediction because, again, it's a way in which we know where the very top ceiling is for our projects. Now, in this case, we're using HBAR, as I said. So we're going to use my price prediction sheet, which, again, is free. I'll leave the link down below of $2 price, okay? So we're going to come back over here, and we're just simply going to go up, and you should always do this for anything you do, and set that number up right in front of our faces. $2, bang. This is the price prediction. This is the ceiling. You do not want to be selling anything over this level because it's bordering on the line of hard, if not impossible, to actually achieve. Then what we're going to do is actually move down 25% from this top level and mark that 25% level in red. As you can see, this is the $1.50 range here for HBAR, and this is going to be the level in which we can max, last, realistically ladder sell out from. So if you're someone who wants to say, I don't know, look for a 30x, well, you can 30x at an average of this level. We'll look at how to work this out in a second because, again, if you go any higher than this, realistically speaking, it's going to be hard. Why? Well, I'll give you a hint. We're going to have to add a whole bunch of sell levels. This is the purple dashed line in a second here, which will make it difficult because you're pushing, again, the borderline impossible. So once you have those two levels, we're going to zoom back into our chart here and do something most of us forget to do, which is figure out whether it's feasible enough for us to even buy HBAR in the first place. Now, again, if you're on TradingView or any sort of exchange here that has a chart, go and click the price range tool, click from the current price or the price in which you have averaged bought into. We'll use the current price for now of about 80 cents, or 0.8 cents, should I say. And we're going to scroll up and mark this level right here. Again, this is the ceiling. This is the last level in which we can actually logistically sell out of. And you'll see we get a percentage, 1,600%, which is a 17x. So what that's saying is from the current price, we can max realistically 17x, which is borderline not good for me, right? I want 20x minimum. So for me, I'm looking for at least 3x more. So I would move on to HBAR, or in this case, zoom back in and look to start buying from a lower level, right? And I would kind of go to a level in which that became possible and maybe even then some. Now, I would probably pull this down to about 5 cents. This is where I actually bought in at, so about 5 cents. And you'll find then, if we actually come back up here, we actually hit a 30x actually on the dot, right? So 2,900 is actually a 30x. So in this case, we 30x at that level. That's great. That's what I actually want max. But I'm not going to risk it because the higher we go in this case, the more we try to touch the sun. Like, we don't want our wings to friggin' fall off. So we're going to bring this down, right? We're going to bring this down to a much more realistic level. And in this case, all I want is 20x. So in this case, we can actually look for a 1,900%, which again is a 20x. So again, I averaged in at about 5 cents with HBAR. This is why I can do this. Now, what we're going to do in this case is mark this level as well. So I'm going to mark this level as actually right on the $1 mark, and we're going to make this green. I'm a very visual person. I like to be color-coded. So we're going to mark that. Now, of course, if you were someone who thought, hey, we can't hit a 5 cent HBAR, and it's going to be above your ROI, say you want a 50x, just move on. Move on. HBAR's too gone for you, all right? Very simple. So in this case, we've done this. Now, what we're going to do is then do what I said before, right? We're going to have to zoom out a little bit here, find the previous trading area, so all of this sort of stuff here for HBAR, and start plotting. Now, we're going to have to plot two different things. This, which is what I call charted area, and all of this, which is uncharted area, okay? Now, the difference is we want to find support and resistance levels in the charted area that will help us as, okay, this is when we should look to maybe possibly sell. And in the uncharted territory, we're going to have to make an assumption. And the assumption is, and if you even punch this into ChatGPT, it's going to say the same thing. We have to assume something here, that H-bar is going to move in certain increments. Now, the general rule of thumb that I like to follow is these increments right here are going to be the average a project was kind of roughly sitting at in the last bear market. So the H-bar, it's 5 cents. That was the rough trading action. It's very simple to find this. You just simply find the chart and the 1 year chart, and you kind of look at the average. For quant, $100. For something like, let's say, alluvium, it might be $50. For something like Casper with the C, it'd be about 3 cents, so on and so forth. And you will look to gain these as your increments from the last known moment that we should begin, the last sticking point, which is, of course, the all-time high. So we gain basically 3 cent increments from the last all-time high all the way up to this level here, which again is our sell level we want to actually achieve here, the $1 mark to achieve our 20x. And we want to even go a little bit above this. We want to keep incrementing up right up until this red line here, or the max sell level. Now, if you were someone trying to achieve this, the actual red level itself, right, what you would do is you'd kind of do increments up to and beyond this level up to the max level. You see why it's very important we drop down 25% here, because if you were looking to sell at this level, well, the chances that you try to get increments above this is very unlikely. It borderlines, again, impossible. So that's why we do it in that way. Now, in this case, I've gone ahead and done that already for all of us. So I've marked these levels in here on this chart. Now, we can't quite see the previous trading action for H-bar on this chart because, unfortunately, this is a different ticker and different exchange we're using in this case. But you'd go ahead and set all those sell levels with this tool right here. The horizontal ray, and I like to have mine dashed, just makes it easier on the eyes. And you again plot it all through in those 5 cent increments. Then what you'll do is actually come to these levels and actually scoot them down slightly so they're offset from those increments. You'll notice that all these levels are actually offset from these 5 cent increments, right? They're at 59 cents, 64 cents, 69 cents, 74 cents, and they aren't at 60 cents, 65 cents, and 70 cents, and 75 cents. Because, again, we want to offset that because when we're in uncharted territory, the issue there becomes psychological sell levels. People like to sell at whole numbers, and that becomes where we need to just offset to secure our gains. So again, you will go ahead and do this. It'll borderline look insane like this as much as you possibly can from the all-time high. And again, this chart doesn't show it, but H-bar's all-time high was somewhere around here. And again, do that for all those support and resistance levels and, of course, the uncharted territory. Now, what you want to do is, of course, make it look a little bit more, realistic and feasible. So what you want to do is come down here and actually just start pulling off some of the higher levels because, again, the higher we go here, the more unrealistic it becomes. Leave a few above and then move some of the ones that you really don't want to be looking at too low because sometimes too low is actually bad. It'll bring down our average sell level too significantly and we'll have to end up selling more at the top. Again, we don't want to be doing that. So you want to get rid of some of these levels that seem to be quite conjoined at the bottom here and just kind of scatter them a bit more. Something like this would look good. And what I try to do myself is actually just have 10 levels. Nice and easy because then the next step is a little bit of maths, right? We have to actually figure out how many tokens we sell at each level to then work out how much revenue we have. Why how much revenue? Because the revenue will help us indicate what our average out level is. It's something most people don't talk about because there's a very important term called weighted average that's never really introduced in crypto YouTube videos. So once we've found our levels, very simple. What we're going to do in this case, again, is take our total tokens, 200,000 H-bar tokens we have, and we're going to just divide that by the amount of levels. Let's pretend we have 10 levels, right? So we 200,000 tokens divided by 10 levels, that's 20,000 tokens at each level. What we then do is take the 20,000 tokens per level, divide that by the total number of tokens we have, so in this case 200,000, multiply that by 100, and that'll give us a percentage, which in this case would be 10%, right? So again, that's how we figure out how much we're actually selling at each level. So we're selling 20,000 tokens at each level, and 10% of our portfolio is being sold at each level. Why is this important? Again, it comes to weighted average. Here's what weighted average really is. In the same situation, right? Weighted average tells us what the actual price we dollar cost average out of. Here's why it's important. In this scenario, it's a slightly different scenario, but it's H-bar as well. If we sell at 55 cents right up to $1, right, and we sell 10% at each level, right, which is 20,000 tokens at each level, what we do is then take the 20,000 tokens, multiply it by the price at each level. So again, 20,000 tokens multiplied by the price at each level over here. That'll give us a dollar amount. So we can then plot this into our own chart. Don't worry, you guys will have access to this chart down below. And that'll give us revenue. And so here's where the weighted average comes in. And while we have to work out how much money we actually make, take the revenue and we divide that again by the total number of tokens we had, which is 200,000 HBAR, and that'll give us our weighted average. So we have to actually work out how much money we actually sell and make at each level in order for us to figure out the weighted average. Now, weighted average is important because if I take 5% off the 55-cent sell level over here and move it to the $1 area, make it 15%, look at this. It moves it up slightly. We actually moved from a 15.5x to a 16x. Conversely, if we took 5% off the very top at $1 over here and moved it down to 55 cents, we're again moving our rough average weight level down. We're selling more at the bottom than the top. And so we, of course, make less money and we get 75 cents. So we actually get less multiples. And while this doesn't look like much, right? Oh, you still made, difference between half and X here. Well, this is where it really starts to kick in. This is where the fun actually happens. So what you want to do in this case is, of course, have these levels and play around with them, right? Try to keep the levels if you're happy with them, but move the percentages around, okay? Move the weighted average around. So do the same thing, right? In this case, example 3, we're going to sell 5%, 5%, 5%. So we're changing this significantly, and we're going to add 5% to these random levels, just randomly. Just move it around. Again, work out the revenue you sell at each level. And again, it's very simple to work out, well, how much percentage am I selling here? Well, it's very simple, right? You get 200,000 tokens, and you then times that by the percentage. So 15% gives you, whatever that is, 30,000 tokens, and then you times 30,000 tokens by the price, and that gives you $25,500. You work that out again for all of them, and you get to your revenue, all right? And in this case, we're actually making it 16.25x, so even better than this level over here, right? And then, of course, even better again, and this is what I would want to get at in this case, I want a 20x, right? We can then say, well, HBAR is pretty confidently going to hit those bottom levels, so I'm going to get rid of those completely, and then make these two levels, 65 cents and 75 cents, only 5%, and then start moving into the higher side. In this case, we actually average out at 96 cents, so it's a 19x. Pretty impressive considering a very important thing. Again, we're getting out here at just under $1, and yet we are last selling at $1. Right? So what is this saying? Well, again, it's just in an equivalent situation, we are basically selling all of this down here like this. Keep in mind the green level over here is $1, right? We are selling it all like this, and yet we are obtaining a $1 average level. So again, this is much safer than what it would be having all these levels scattered above here, right? Or again, trying to time this exact $1 mark. We're selling underneath, and we're still getting that $1 magic level. And of course, I would even slightly tweak this even more, probably take 5% from here and add to the end. So that would actually bring up to $1. So again, this is why it's very important you follow this information. And again, we just never have people talking about this. Again, safer in this case, we're selling more just under, and we're still hitting the $1 mark, right? Don't be that person who tries to time the top. Don't be the person who thinks you know what you're doing and you won't let FOMO or greed kick in, because you will. Coming from experience. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, again, I know I had to rush through this. You will have access to the sheet I just showed you. Down below, you will have access to the price prediction sheet as well. And if you want to actually understand this in as maximum amount of information as possible, then of course you can with my course. That's why I made it. With that being said, thank you again. Talk to you all soon. Take care. Bye.